Okay, great. So I want to start off by thanking IT staff for jumping through all the extra hoops it takes to move all the operations out here to the campus. I forgot to specifically call them out on Tuesday, and that was a neglect on my part. And I really appreciate all that they're doing to make our remote and video recorded meetings work well. So I want to mention that. A reminder to everyone to turn your phones on silent. And I think everyone here in the room knows this meeting's being recorded, but just so the public knows, if anyone's watching, I'm not sure if anyone has joined us remotely. IT staff, has anyone joined us? Okay. All right. So Clerk Vlasic, was this meeting properly notified? Okay, the meeting was properly notified. Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Seat, Buck, Cosgrove,
Here.
Murphy Lopez,
Here.
Severson, all are present.
All right, so we have a quorum present, so we can run the meeting. Agenda item number 3, agenda approval. I'd entertain a motion to approve this agenda.
I'll move.
And moved by Supervisor Cosgrove, second by Supervisor Luck. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have an agenda. Agenda item number 4, July 2nd minutes approval. The minutes were sent out by the clerk to folks, and they're also on our iPads. I'd entertain a motion to approve those. Motion by Supervisor Seep. Second by Supervisor Luck. That's okay, you're fine where you're at. I'm gonna move so I can see Supervisor Severson. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 5, establishment policy. There are 2 documents on our iPads, and also all these documents are online, so anyone watching this recording can find these on the Rules and Resolutions Committee website. So Administrator Langrep.
Mr. Chair, looking for recommendation today, a motion to approve Richland County Establishment Policy and recommend a resolution by the Richland County Board of Supervisors at their August 18th, 2020 meeting. This establishment policy is a blueprint and format for future Richland County policy development. It is intended to promote consistency and helps define roles and policy maintenance and revisions. Following addition revisions with Corporation Counsel, it is returning to this committee today for your consideration. And looking into policy, the second 05 agenda item that you'll find in your folder, the revisions that you can see are put in red. As recommended by Corporation Counsel, we changed the wordings for different authority body to sponsoring committee, board, or commissions. Other additions that you'll find in section 7 include talking in regards to, we had initial language that said the authority body can make future changes to the policy that has been stricken and replaced with language that says the body is delegated with jurisdiction and authority to make interpretation of the policy and make recommendation to the board for amendments. The mindset then is the supervisory body becomes the body to approach for amendments. Other language that was stricken in section 8, we had language that said authority to revise, amend, or discontinue this policy may be delegated to the supervisory committee at the discretion of the Richland County Board of Supervisors. That language has been stricken from the policy. Additional strike on the same section, all policies excluding ordinances may be revised administratively to make formatting changes, corrections to reflect organizational changes or typos, or similar non-material, non-substantive changes without Richland County Board of Supervisors or governing body approval has been stricken from the document. Mr. Chair.
Committee members, any questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Southwick. Just make sure you're.
I'm turning it on.
Great. Just a reminder to everyone today, make sure you keep your mouths very close to the microphones. You might sound a little overly loud to yourself, but to the public, if anyone's watching this meeting, they can't hear unless we are really putting our mouths within an inch or two of these microphones. Thank you.
If I may, I would ask Mr. Langrick whether this establishment of policies is to apply just to department heads and departments so that it would not require county board action because you would have that authority as county administrator, or do you wish it to apply to committees, boards, and commissions?
The vision I have for this document is it establishes policy, which would be approved through the committee boards and commissions in Richland County Board. So with approval from the board, applying then to what policy should look like coming up through their committees. Did that answer your question, Council?
Okay, any other questions or comments? Supervisor Seat?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next step from this point in terms of final approval is what?
Mr. Chair, from this body, we would take it to county board in this month for final approval.
Thank you. There's no collaboration then with committees, boards, or commissions, or has that been done?
We solicited the document. It's been kicked around now for a few months now, and it's been pushed out through departments, requested that back through departments if they had concerns or that their committees had concerns to bring those to us. And the document that we have arrived at is the document presented and recommended today.
So this document required review by committees, boards, and commissions, but not necessarily their approval?
It wasn't put out where it needed all the committee's approvals. It was put out as, here it is, it's being entertained by rules and resolutions if you have concerns that you'd like me to, essentially make on behalf of a department or of a committee, boards, or commission, to let me know so that we can bring those thoughts to the table in the proposal.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. Job well done.
And just a reminder to folks that we did approve this at the last meeting, and Corporation Council requested some additional changes be made. So that's why Administrator Langrick brought it back for our approval again, and it never went to the county board. And so it would go to the county board if we adopted it today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would move to approve.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Cosgrove, second by Supervisor Severson. All those in favor of adopting, I'm sorry, what am I doing here? All those in favor of moving forward with this policy signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Yeah, just a sec. Yeah, yes, Supervisor Severson.
Question, a roll call vote.
Sure. Okay. Clerk, please call the roll on this.
Aye.
Luck,
Yes.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Murphy Lopez,
Aye.
Severson.
In favor.
All right, the motion has passed. So moving on now to agenda item number 6, establishment procedures. Administrator Langrick.
Mr. Chair, 2 documents in your folder. First is the summary. Today, recommend motion to approve Richland County establishment procedure and recommend resolution to the Richland County Board of Supervisors at their August 18th, 2020 meeting. Background, this procedure establishment is to set a blueprint and format for future Richland County procedure development. It is intended to promote consistency and help define roles and procedure maintenance and revisions. Following additions and revisions with Corporation Council, it is returning to this committee for consideration. If you open up your second document underneath item number 6, you'll see that we made comparable revisions to authority body of designating that as sponsoring committee, board, or committee underneath the policy format, which would designate this policy on procedures underneath you folks at rules and resolutions. If I've made that confusing, I apologize, but it's a policy on procedure, and you are the sponsoring body that if changes are to be brought forward to the county board, it would come through yourselves. Other changes that you'll see in section 8, we've again changed governing body to committee, boards, commissions. We've also included that a procedure shall be established when directed by an elected official or with authority of service functions. And those are the changes that we have made. Again, the purpose of this document under procedure is to complement policies that are brought forth from committees, boards, and commissions, allowing administration, both elected officials, administrator, department heads, to be able to make then the policies addressing the whens and the whos on how your whys and what we're doing is being executed. Mr. Chair.
Okay, so committee members, any questions or comments on this one? All right, if not, I'd entertain a motion to move forward with this new policy on procedures. Okay, motion by Supervisor Luck,
Second.
second by Supervisor Cosgrove. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 7, management, authority, and supervisor roles. Administrator Langren.
Mr. Chair, looking today for recommending a motion to approve authority of management roles, members, and chairs of committees, boards, and commissions, and recommend resolution by the Richland County Board of Supervisors at their August 18th, 2020 meeting. Background, this item is recommended in the ongoing effort to define the authorities of management, roles of individual members, and roles of presiding body members. This policy is intended as a visionary policy to help define roles and guide future policy development and revision. So again, we've made a couple changes that you'll see on your second document under 7. You'll see again authority body stricken, and we have sponsoring committee, board, or commission defined as yourself is kind of the entry point or the amendment point in making revisions to this through the county board. The scope of the policy has been revised to say Richland County management, members of committees, boards, and commissions, and chairs of committee, boards, and commissions is who the policy is applying to. Underneath section 7, you'll see an additional authority and responsibility put onto management. And it's in red there. It says propose ordinance, resolutions, rules, or policy to committee, boards, or commissions. You'll see then the same language in section 8 for roles of individual members of committees, boards, and commissions. This was added with a mindset that you folks as county board supervisors are Richland County legislators, and that it should be part of your duties and authorities to propose such things as ordinance, rules, resolutions, and policies. We also added underneath the roles of members of boards and committees and commissions, 2 at the bottom that you'll see there that says may consult on projects as requested of administration in a voluntary capacity. This was added to help accommodate for all the terrific skill sets we have from our folks that are serving on our boards, commissions, and committees, to be able to tap into their subject matter experts and their willingness to help with administration. It's intended here that it's still a voluntary type of a role. As talked about with council, we certainly can't pay for these types of services if you're in a supervisor type role, but allows them to access, again, subject matter experts serving in a supervisory role. And then the final one, discuss appropriate county matters with fellow members, but avoid walking quorums. So again, it's certainly your authority and your part of your tasking is to discuss the different issues of the counties, but making sure that we're avoiding having walking quorum violations. We also made sure that we add clerk to section 9, paragraph 6. We talk about preserve order and decorum, decide on all, section 9 is roles of the chairs of committees, boards, and commissions. You'll see under paragraph or item 6 of there that we added clerk in for advice in regards to preserving order and decorum, deciding on questions, etc., during controlling a meeting. And I think we had one more change, and this is kind of the big one at the bottom here underneath section 11, the implementation of the policy. Again, all current rules, ordinances, policies, and procedures at the time of adoption that are contradict that contradict with this policy remain in effect and take precedence over this policy until such a time where the conflicting policies are amended to reflect the vision and directives set forth in this policy. So this is kind of our, again, making this a visionary type of a document and saying this is our goal, and we point to this one with our future policy development and amendment. Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Luck.
So I just have a question on the role of the chair section. One thing that's come up this week is as chair of the LEJC committee,
Supervisor Luck, can you pull that microphone a little closer?
Right.
Thank you.
So as chair of the LEJC committee, I wanted to make sure that our meeting was not held in person, but was held via WebEx completely. And it occurred to me that I may or may not have the authority to say that. And so I didn't know if that's something that should be addressed. I assume because we have the COVID-19 has been enacted by our board chair and our administrator, where it says that meetings can be held. I just wasn't sure who gets to make the decision as to an individual committee as to whether it's held in person or via WebEx.
Do you know who you're addressing that to, or maybe,
Nope, whoever
sounds
would have an answer.
Council Southwood, raise your hand.
Mr. Chairman, and Supervisor Luck, I would point you to Rule 3 of the Rules of the Board. Deals with committees, meetings of the county board and committees may be conducted by teleconference, video conference, or other such methods, provided that members of the public can access the meeting in accordance with Wisconsin's open meetings law. I did not read the entire sentence, but that is addressed in Rule 3 of the Rules of the Board.
Does it say who gets to decide whether it can be in person, or does it give the chair of that committee that authority? Maybe I'll read that.
Supervisor Luck has the floor, so go ahead, Supervisor Luck.
I mean, maybe I should quick read the rules to see exactly what that says. If it explicitly gives authority to the chair of the committee, then we're fine. If it doesn't, then we may need to clarify.
Mr. Southwick, either if you can answer or if you can read from the rule too, so we can all understand.
Yes, I'll read the entirety of the last sentence of Rule 3 of the Rules of the Board. If in-person meetings are not advised or not possible due to an emergency situation as determined by the county board chair and or the county administrator, meetings of the county board and its committees may be conducted by a teleconference, video conference, or other such methods, provided that members of the public can access the meeting in accordance with Wisconsin open meetings law. So the answer is that the determination of whether an individual wishes to attend a meeting remotely is determined by the county board chair and or the county administrator under Rule 3 of the Rules of the Board.
I don't know if it clarifies exactly the authority of who's deciding where meetings are. I don't see that we've addressed it underneath Section 9 of the proposed duties and responsibilities for the chair. Seems like Rule 3 allows for the discretion of it, but it doesn't still kind of clarify exactly if that is a direct authority for the chair. I guess at this point, there's a policy that could be amended by motion today, or if it's something that you'd like to have it brought back once the policy is confirmed and in place as a follow-on type of an item to consider.
I mean, I just want to make sure that I'm not overstepping. So if I need to talk to you and Marty in order to make that meeting be only via WebEx, then I can do that. I just want to make, maybe for future reference, we do want to clarify that particular point, whether the committee chair can designate that once the county administrator and the board chair have determined there is an emergency.
Mr. Southwick?
Yes, certainly Rule 3 could be amended to authorize the chair of any committee, board, or commission to grant authority for a member to attend remotely. I don't know whether that's on the agenda today to amend the rules of the board, but such an amendment could certainly be accomplished by the county board if it wished.
Great, Supervisor Seat.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to Supervisor Luck's question, did Supervisor Luck have in mind any other
Supervisor
areas.
Seat, can you pull the microphone closer? Thank you.
Did Supervisor Luck have in mind specifically, did she mean just that question of whether or not someone could attend by remote or virtually or in person? Did she have any other questions about authority? Are there other elements of authority that the chair, she thinks the chair should have that she may have doubts about?
No, I specifically am just wanting to make sure that I'm following proper procedure. I'm actually proposing that the entire meeting be held via WebEx and there is no in-person meeting. I think that makes it easier for IT as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. You're proposing what?
I'm just wanting to clarify whether I have authority to say that the LEJC meeting will only be via WebEx. There will be no in-person meeting.
Can I comment?
I'm going to go Supervisor Severson and then, yes, Supervisor Severson.
Mr. Chairman, I got two parts to this question. First one is the library open during this time, and does the county have a computer that is open to the public to sit at and view? And if people live in the rural setting that don't have internet, and if they don't have internet, probably would not have tablets or other devices that are portable to access internet, such as older people, how would they be able to view our meetings on WebEx without going somewhere to access that?
Okay, so just a couple of I'm going to say a few things here. So I don't know the answer on the library question. I do know that whenever we have a WebEx meeting, it's possible to join by phone. And that's what I use oftentimes when I don't have internet and I want to join a meeting. And so the public has that phone number at their disposal. I kind of stepping back a little bit here. I'm not sure if I answered both of your questions, Supervisor. I probably didn't see. We might have to circle back on those. But like when we were setting up this meeting, I worked with Administrator Langreck to secure this location, and I never checked in with the county board chair about this. But the way the rule is written today, Rule 3, it says and or. So the county board chair and or the administrator. I didn't ask him for authority to do it. We sort of worked together to come up with this as an alternative location. I think that this isn't a matter of whether people are attending or not. It's a matter of the authority of the chair. Can the chair move a meeting entirely to online? If there is this sort of state of emergency where it's almost more of an option right now is kind of how I see it. It's not that Chair Brewer and Administrator Langreck are ordering us to all meet online. It's more that it's kind of at the discretion of the chair at this moment. It seems to be how it's kind of functionally operating, even though that's not written down anywhere. So I guess my proposal would be to insert a line in there that the chair of a committee or board or commission may make that determination is what I'd like to. I'll make a motion for that amendment, and then we can discuss that. We can discuss that if it gets seconded.
Mr. Chairman, I will second your motion.
Okay, so second by Supervisor Seat. So discussion on the idea of adding that in. Supervisor Severson.
I guess my question wouldn't be for really adding that in.
Okay, I know Clerk Vlasic, you wanted to mention something earlier. I'm not sure if it's still relevant, but I
wanted to ask Ben if there's any open meetings issues, because if you're not able, is that just tough luck? You're not able to get in by WebEx? I know I've tried on one occasion and couldn't. So I don't know how to. We have a very diverse area here.
Correct.
Mr.
Supervisor,
Chairman,
yeah, Mr. Southwood?
I wonder, and I don't have a copy of the agenda before me, but I don't know if amending the rules of the board is on the agenda today.
No, sir, it's.
Number
it's
two, everyone is making a major effort in this pandemic, to make the public as available as we can technologically in compliance with the open meetings law. I don't know what further we can do other than make every effort we can technologically and otherwise to comply with remote meetings, comply with the open meetings law.
Supervisor Seep?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to the question of the library, I believe that those computers are available to the public at the library, and that anyone could follow the information on the notice that's been posted to log into the meeting. I don't think that would be a problem. I think accessibility, I believe that Mr. Severson is concerned about accessibility to the public for someone who doesn't have a computer at home. I think the accessibility is there at the library. Mr. Severson.
I'm looking it up right now, and it does look like the library is closed right now, and they are offering curbside. They're offering curbside pickup. I wonder also, though, if the public can use all the facilities here on campus. And I know that, but I don't know if you have to be a student or staff to use the facilities here at the library on campus. If anyone knows the answer to that. But again, I would mention too that the phone number option, I mean, I think that's pretty universally acceptable to people if the video option doesn't work, which is realistic in our area, that people would not have internet access, or at least very good internet access to have video. Any further? Yep, Supervisor Sheep.
Yes, I would agree. We're offering 3 opportunities for access: telephone, in person, and
A little closer, please.
telephone, WebEx, and in person. I think we're doing all that we can to meet the requirement for of the open meeting law in terms of public access.
And in this case, of course, the amendment that we're discussing is about when it would only be remote. If the chair chooses to do that, the public would not have the in-person option. They would only have video or phone option. So I just want to make sure that that's clarified here, that that's the amendment we're discussing right now.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm interested.
Go ahead, Supervisor Seep.
I'm interested if Supervisor Luck is satisfied with this approach in our answer to her.
Yes, this amendment would address what I'm asking.
Okay, Mr. Southwood.
Yes, I just want clarification. The motion is to amend Rule 3 of the rules of the board to allow the chair of committees, boards, or commissions to determine whether the meeting can be or not. Is that the motion?
No, sir. So the motion would be to amend the policy that's under consideration right now about the management authority. And it would be under number 9, roles of the chairs of committees, commissions, or boards. And then the point could be inserted wherever staff thought it would best fit. Supervisor Severson?
What if majority of committee members disagree with the chair on having it? And this is not within a public health crisis. This is if when we're not around and the chair wants to have it at a location other than where it normally is held, but other supervisors disagree.
Administrator
Yes,
Langer?
speak to that, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing up that point. I guess part of it I would see is that a quorum wouldn't be established and you wouldn't be able to conduct business as a check and balance onto it. If we amend the language, the other part of it trying to incorporate it is if during the adjournment, if there's a motion to adjourn to a time and place, perhaps if we use language to allow a chair of a committee's, boards, and commission to approve place of a next meeting if not designated in the previous meeting's adjournment, or if location designated in the previous meeting's adjournment is not reasonable as determined by the county board chair, or something of that extent, if that would seem, I know we're wordsmithing on a public meeting right now, but
Supervisor Severson, does that satisfy your concern about a chair who runs amok? Okay. Yes, Supervisor Seat?
Would Mr. Langberg agree to add the word approve, the chair would approve not just the place, but the time and place of the next meeting? Just to be more specific.
I think that again, maybe we could insert it. I see like a situation where we just previously done with your finance and personnel committee, Mr. Chair, where we got together and we did a hasty special meeting to talk about our short-term loan financing. There's a purpose for that could again be added in there.
That's true. That does happen sometimes where the time is changed by the chair and the chair calls a meeting to order, I guess causes the clerk to publish a meeting that wasn't previously approved by the last adjournment. So I think that would make sense too. So I guess what I'd say is the amendment that I propose, I think all of these things that have been mentioned by the administrator and by Supervisor Seep, I would accept as a friendly amendment or a friendly change to the amendment, as long as you second it. I'm assuming you would, Supervisor Seep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I presume that the word time along with place is inclusive of the word date. We would not have to say time and date, would we?
Date and time, place, date, and time. Probably all three of those things.
All right.
I think.
Thank you.
Okay. So, is there any further discussion on the amendment? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The amendment passes. So now, is there any further discussion on this document? Because the administrator presented several changes, and I just want to make sure that committee members have a chance to give any comments or questions about the other changes. Oh, yep, Supervisor Severson.
I don't know if I'm on the right one here. Yeah. Number 8, roles of individual members of committees, boards, and commissions. C1 says propose ordinances, resolutions, rules, or policy to committees, boards, or commissions. Does that grant supervisors authority to create an ordinance and present it to county board without going to through a committee?
Yep, Mr. Southwick.
No, currently the rules of the board require all resolutions, proposed resolutions and ordinances to come from a committee, to be signed by a majority of the members of a committee.
Supervisor Severson, should we go to that rule and read that? Or do you recall that? That one, that's one I recall, but we can have it read if you'd like.
I'm familiar with that rule. It's just that I think this here is kind of conflicting to, in my opinion, to me, that individual supervisors could bypass committees. And it gives an example of what
chairman.
individual member activities include but are not limited to.
Okay, so Mr. Southwick, which rule is it that addresses this in our county board rules?
So-
Okay, and then
Right now,
Rule 19, Council.
okay, so it's Rule 19. So maybe if we could have that read, that would be helpful.
There is a rule at the end that allows the supervisor to present a resolution.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read Rule
With a
19.
co-sponsor, correct?
Yeah, let me go ahead and read this because I think we should probably hash this out and make sure that it all makes sense here. So Rule 19 of the County Board rules, except as otherwise provided in these rules or in the Wisconsin statutes, all agenda items requiring action by the board except appointments, shall initially be brought to the consideration of the board by written resolution or ordinance, except that a majority of the board may, upon motion, permit an agenda item to be brought to the consideration of the board by oral motion. Any supervisor may direct the corporation council to prepare a proposed resolution or ordinance, but the identity of that supervisor shall be public information. No resolution or ordinance shall be brought to the consideration of the board unless it has been signed by a majority of the members of the appropriate committee. Upon signing a proposed resolution or ordinance, members may indicate on the resolution or ordinance that their position for or against that proposed resolution or ordinance. In doubtful cases, the chair shall assign proposed resolutions and ordinances to the appropriate committee. Okay, Supervisor Seep?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Our clerk just referred to a rule that allows, and I remember this happening on occasion, at least one occasion, where an individual supervisor, without going through his committee, organized a resolution with the assistance of the corporation council, and it was submitted directly to the board, bypassing the committee. Am I correct about that? Corporations council?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, no, Supervisor Seep, you're incorrect about that.
All right.
The members of the committee were opposed to the substance of the resolution, but majority of the committee did agree to sign it, which is what is required by Rule 19, and it was presented to the county board, and it was roundly turned down.
Okay, so
Thank you.
So then going back to the issue at hand here, so under 8, under this document that we're looking at today, paragraph C, and then I, Roman numeral I, propose ordinances, resolutions, rules, or policy to committees, boards, or commissions. So it sounds like what's being proposed in this latest draft is that something that is also reflective of what's already in our county board rules, that if someone wants to, a county board supervisor wants to propose an ordinance or a resolution, and additionally, in this document, a rule or a policy, that they would have to go to a committee, board, or commission. It doesn't conflict with our existing rule. It doesn't sound like. That's a good clarification to have so that we all understand that. Yeah, Clerk Vlasic? Did you have something?
He had his hand up a little while ago, so I didn't know if he had a question.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to go ahead and go forward with this unless there are any other items folks would like to discuss.
Jerry Severson moves.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Severson, second by Supervisor Cosgrove. And keep in mind that this is a motion that has been amended, and the motion that we have on the table here that we're voting on, back to this, is to approve authority of management roles of members and chairs of committees, boards, and commissions, and recommend a resolution to the Richland County Board of Supervisors at their August 18th meeting. So all those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Do the amendment?
We already did the amendment.
All right.
Yes, that's correct.
Fine.
So we just voted on the motion as amended. So that motion passes as amended. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 8.
Mr. Chairman, before I forget, something to talk about in the future is this requirement that the resolutions be signed as people either can't attend or attend by WebEx. I'm supposed to get signatures to get the resolutions on the floor. We've already had one that was never signed. So.
Okay, so we'll handle that under agenda item number 11, so don't let me forget that. So agenda item number, but that's a good point to bring up, so we won't forget that. Agenda item number 8, amendments to the county COVID-19 plan. Administrator Langrecht.
Mr. Chair, recommendation day motion to approve recommended proposed changes of the Richland County COVID-19 plan to the Health and Human Services Board for consideration and referral to the County Board for resolution. Background, this plan was adopted by Finance and Personnel Committee on March 17th. revised on on May 12th, proposed revisions on August 4th. The initial adoption by the county board was on May 19th. Revisions to the plan may be made by the county administrator in collaboration with the public health manager, local health officer. The plan may be brought back before the county board upon request of the board or chair or at the discretion of the administrator. Because the nature of the changes would impact the public and its constituents, I feel it's appropriate to bring it back through committees and through county board. The proposed revisions address amendments to the method of the spread, amendments to the identified symptoms of COVID-19, amendments to non-pharmaceutical interventions, amendments to public meetings, including requiring those to attend and wear face coverings, availability of teleconferencing in meetings, directive to specified committees, boards, and commissions to make teleconferencing available. Amendments also to travel restrictions. The second item that you'll see in your folder underneath agenda item 8 has the different corrections that are broken out to you in stricken and underlined in red. Section 3, we added to the different, we changed the language that essentially says spread is possible before people show symptoms. Back in March, that was still debated by health experts. We added in section 4 a few more symptoms, including loss of smell and taste, runny nose. Underneath section 6 for non-pharmaceutical interventions, we added wearing a face, nose, and mouth covering. Back in March, again, that was not necessarily agreed on by all public health officials. The next corrections you'll see are in section 12, public meetings. Language is amended to include county committees, boards, and commissions are strongly encouraged to postpone non-essential in-person meetings if at all possible. If meetings must be conducted in person, face coverings and social distancing shall be required of members, employees, and public in attendance. 12.03, committee, board, and commission meetings may be conducted via teleconferencing is allowable under Rule 3 of the County Board's rules during the state of emergency, with considerations given to open meetings laws. 12.04, the following committee, boards, and commissions will make teleconferencing attendance available to members, employees, of the public during the state of emergency. County Richland Board, Finance Personnel Committee, Rules and Resolutions Committee, Committee on Committees, Law Enforcement and Judiciary Committee, Health and Human Services, Veteran Services Commission, Land Information Council, Simon's Natatorium Board, Land Conservation Committee, County Parks Commission, Fair and Recycling Committee, Property Buildings and Grounds Committee, Emergency Management Committee, Joint Ambulance Committee, and Subcommittee. There's additional, underneath 12.04, we also have for Richland County Board, Finance and Personnel and Rules and Resolutions to post recordings. And then the final amendments are in section 15. We modified some of our travel restrictions. Back in March, we had in there all airline travel is restricted until further notice. That has been stricken. And we also strict travel to meetings in areas of the state with confirmed COVID-19 infections is restricted. Is also stricken as our environment here continues to change with the pandemic. Mr. Chair.
So one clarification I'd like to add here is that under the Law Enforcement and Judiciary Committee, they also have listed that that's also listed here that would have a posted recording. Is that correct? You left that off your verbal list, so I just want to make sure that that's correct.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is correct.
Okay. And so today, for this, we're being asked to pass a motion that is identical to what the Finance and Personnel Committee passed. Is that correct as well?
That is correct. Their motion, though, included a recommendation to this body. And then so your recommendation would be still going to Health and Human Services before going to the county board. Some of this obviously is kind of covered by the governor's current order for face coverings in public, but not knowing if that is going to reach either a judicial kind of a blowback or legislative type of a blowback against that order, this would put into place then, at least for public meetings, to have these initiatives in place.
Okay, and then so this is making stops at 3 committees before it goes to the full county board, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It was felt appropriate that the plan was initially approved by Finance and Personnel, so to take it to them as the the supervisory committee, but because some of this also impacts obviously committees and what their tasks are, it was appropriate then to bring to rules and resolutions. And because it's touching, of course, on health type issues, it was also recommended then that, or advisable that we take it through Health and Human Services to get their input on it before it went to the county board.
Okay. So, yes, Supervisor Cosgrove.
I'll make a motion that we forward this to Health and Human Services.
Okay. Motion by Supervisor Cosgrove,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Luck. Yes, Supervisor Severson.
Since counties have the authority to go more restrictive instead of less restrictive, and we are treating everybody as if they are an asymptomatic carrier, could we put in that we should recommend some type of eye protection and gowns for added protection?
Is that, are you proposing an amendment or just something for discussion?
Just something for discussion that could lead into an amendment
Okay, I'm not
for
familiar.
limiting risk in non-pharmaceutical interventions.
I'm not familiar with either. I've not heard those as recommendations. Any other committee members want to discuss that? New to me.
Did you say wear gowns, like surgical gowns to cover? Have you seen this recommendation on the like CDC's website, or like where did you get this from? Yeah. it's not on-
Yeah.
I haven't heard it of people wearing gowns.
Supervisor Seat?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have heard of, I've seen it on television, on various news documentaries, where in certain circumstances, people are required to wear eye protection, goggles generally, or something along those lines. I think that the shields have been used, but there's been debate about whether they're that effective. But I do know that there has been the use of eye protection in certain occupations and certain activities. And I could see, that being an option for people in certain categories of employment, depending upon their job requirements. Thank you.
Yep, Supervisor Luck?
It seems that kind of investment, because I would assume the county would need to provide gowns. I'm not even sure where they would get them from. If we get to that point, it seems like the discussion should be, should we have in-person meetings? Like, then it would be online meetings only. If we get to that point where we need to be covered in surgical gowns. Not to mention the waste created from such a, I can't quite wrap my head around that one. And I'm really cautious, so.
Yep, Administrator Langer.
I guess I was just looking for clarification, Supervisor Seaver. That was in regards to non-pharmaceutical interventions as a recommendation in that section, and not directly specified towards the section for public meetings. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So currently there are just a list of 11, and there will be 12 if we adopt the masks as part of this as a county board. And I think these are all potential interventions that can be taken to slow the spread of COVID-19. So I think the suggestion by Supervisor Severson is to add another point on here. So it wouldn't require, it would not require them. I think the requirement for face masks at public meetings is further down in the document. Is that what section, Administrator Langer?
Travel, is that what you're?
No, no.
Section 12.
Section 12, public meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So we have added here under 12.02, if meetings must be conducted in person, face coverings and social distancing shall be required of members, employees, and the public in attendance. So Supervisor Severson, you weren't proposing that section 12.02 be changed. You were just suggesting that it be considered to add it to section 6 as a non-pharmaceutical intervention. Correct. Okay. That clarifies where that potential item would go. Is it something that, would you like to carry it any further, Supervisor Severson?
No, I just wanted it for
Okay.
discussion if we felt it was appropriate since we're treating everybody as an asymptomatic carrier.
Okay, any other comments on this before we vote? All right, then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So agenda item number 9, resolution honoring supervisors from the 2018 to 2020 session. Administrator Langren.
Recommendation today is motion to present resolution to the Richland County Board at the August 18th, 2020 meeting expressing appreciation for the service of former County Board Supervisors Janetta Kirkpatrick, District 1, Jamie Walsh, District 9, Edward Pulvermacher, District 15, Buford Marshall, District 21, James Huffman, District 3, Gary Peters, District 10, Larry Sobranek, District 20. Background: to show appreciation for these members' years of service to Richland County, and in accordance with past practice, it is recommended that resolution be drafted recognizing these former supervisors' services. Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions or comments on this one? The only suggestion I'd make is that Buford's name is misspelled. There should be a D as in dog, that should be removed from his first name, especially for the resolution part where he gets handed something.
Thank you. My apologies, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no worries at all. Okay, so entertain a motion for this one.
I'll move.
Supervisor Cosgrove, second. Supervisor Severson. Any discussion? Yep, Supervisor Severson.
There's no financial impact. We're just creating resolutions and not like we've done in the past, offered supervisors personal financial for plaques or.
So in the past, did someone on the county board collect money to pay for those plaques, and then someone on the county board went to some business and bought them? Yeah, we don't have that in the resolution. I think if we do that, that would need to be something that would be handled offline, since there would be no financial impact to the county budget. I know Supervisor Gentis is the one who suggested this at last month's Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, and that's why it got on our agenda, so we don't forget this. Do folks know about anyone who might want to take the lead on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Supervisor C.
there's no requirement. Sometimes it has been done and sometimes it hasn't. We're talking about spending a significant amount of money. You're going to be taking up a collection or a personal contribution from board members to pay for this, and I really don't think it matters that much. I think a letter to each of them, along with a resolution thanking them and commending them for their service, is a sufficient courtesy, and I don't think anyone expects any more than that.
So Supervisor C, you don't get a plaque when you retire.
I'm not quite through.
Sorry.
Before we talked about this in terms of retirement of employees, and we said someone who's worked so long would be getting a letter of commendation. Perhaps it was 15 or 20 years or whatever. I would think that if we had someone who served, 25 or 30 years, that would be another issue. None of these have served that long.
Okay.
I think it's simpler just to give them a letter of commendation and a resolution.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion to present a resolution to the former county board supervisor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 10, proposed changes to Finance and Personnel Committee and Rules and Resolutions Committee responsibilities. Administrator Langren.
Mr. Chair, recommend a motion to present a resolution to the county board to make changes to the committee structure resolution last amended on July 21st, 2020 through resolution number 2074. The background: at the August 4th, 2020 meeting, the Finance and Personnel Committee A motion was passed pending to recommend changes to the administrative manual of Richland County, which it did. Administrative manual. These changes reflect the supervisory changes approved by the Richland County Board on July 21st, 2020, shifting several related responsibilities from the administrative coordinator and supervisory committees to the administrator. Three changes directly impact the responsibilities of Finance and Personnel Committee, which are currently listed in the committee structure document as paragraph M. The Personnel Committee shall have the authority to suspend and relieve personnel of duties, providing a majority of the Personnel Committee and majority of the respective committee responsible for the individual's department agree. N, the committee shall from time to time conduct or cause to be conducted job analysis and evaluations, review of job descriptions, and a study of the table of operations. And if a change in any of the above is recommended, and said recommendation shall be submitted to the county board for action. And W, investigate all complaints of sexual harassment and endeavor to handle such matters expeditially in a professional manner as to protect the offended individual. Due to proposed changes in the administrative manual, it is anticipated that the administrator or their designee will have the authority to make suspension of employees, job description changes, and sexual harassment investigations. Therefore, it's recommended that letters M and W be removed from the Finance and Personnel section of the committee's structure document, and the phrase review job descriptions be removed from N. See the attached committee structure, your second document. Additionally, it has been brought to the attention of Corporation Counsel Ben Southwick that Rules and Resolutions Committee has not expressly been given the authority to recommend changes to the committee structure document. And attachment D, you'll also see then it makes this a function of Rules and Resolution Committee more clear. So we're looking to strike 2 paragraphs and a few words from Finance and Personnel, and then add 2 rules and resolutions, the ability of this body to make the recommended changes to the committee structure document. Mr. Chair.
Okay, so questions or comments from committee members on this one?
I have a question.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Does that mean that new and reviewed job descriptions no longer go through the committee?
Right. 2 parts of that. The document that we made motion on previous underneath roles and responsibilities of management suggests that becomes a function of management. I know by handbook, we still have it defined as something that is done by county board. So there's kind of 2 different things going on there. And to get to county board, then it would have to go through personnel committee to get to county board. So until we amend the handbook, then it puts us in a bit of a quagmire, but that's not necessarily foreign territory to us.
So it sounds like right now what's going to be happening is job descriptions are going to continue to come forward to Finance and Personnel, even if the county board in August approves this change, because the employee handbook hasn't yet changed. And we approved that earlier in the meeting when we were discussing authority of roles, authority of management and supervisors and committees and such, that anything that contradicts with this change we make will still take precedence over this policy until we amend that contradiction. So we still have to change the employee handbook in order for the Finance and Personnel Committee to actually not review the job descriptions. And until that happens, they still need to go through that process.
I ask because usually the job description change results in a pay change. What happened at county board or finance was unusual, where there was no grade changes recommended. So
yes, so yeah, earlier on Tuesday at the Finance and Personnel Committee, we did change a job description. I can't remember what it was for, but the pay grade did not change. And so, yes, I don't think the pay changes are being considered here. It's only the job descriptions, because going back to the administrative manual, the changes that were in there only had to do with job descriptions. It did not have to do with a change in pay. So that authority has not yet been transferred from the old model to the new model. There will be a lot of changes, I know, that we have to keep considering and making, and we have this sort of transition period where there's going to be a lot of things that we want to do that we want to change, but we can't actually change them until we change some other documents. So, yes, Mr. Southwick.
I think the clerk's point is a good one, and that is that a changed job description is often used as a springboard for a pay change. They're all tied together. Thank you.
Okay. Also, I think we will be clear. I just want to mention one other thing that I noticed in here under the Rules and Resolutions Committee structure document or resolution. Right now, letter D, as in dog, it says review and introduce any resolutions not sponsored by a county committee for action by the county board. So our committee here is kind of like a place where all things that don't belong in any other committee, unless the county board chair decides it goes to a particular committee, they end up here. And I think what we wanted to do was just clarify that this committee structure resolution, which we actually did change at last month's rules meeting, that we do have the authority to do that. So we want to make sure that everyone on the county board knows that would be happening at this committee. So that's the reason for the clarification there. Okay, so unless there's any further discussion on that, I'd entertain a motion to move forward with these changes to the committee structure resolution.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Luck. There's a second. Second by Supervisor Cosgrove. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. So agenda item number 11, future agenda items proposal. So I'll start in the back there, Supervisor Severson.
I need to think a little longer.
Sure. And just a reminder that we cannot discuss any of these items. This is only meant to be folks just mentioning ideas they have for future agendas. So we won't take action on any of these items that anyone mentions today.
And you're correct, Mr. Chair. There should be no discussion at all either.
Supervisor Cosgrove?
I don't have anything that comes to mind right now other than what Victor had mentioned earlier.
Okay, and the clerk's item earlier was that it was the issue of how committee members can sign documents, sign resolutions or ordinances when they're not in person, when we don't have in-person meetings, correct? Okay. All right, Supervisor Luck,
Don't have anything.
Supervisor Seep. Okay, anyone else? Yep, Supervisor Severson.
Exploring a way that we can have ordinances and resolutions in a searchable file and updating ordinances. They're reviewing all ordinances of the county. Just reviewing all ordinances of the county and updating them to current times.
That. Can I ask for clarification on that, Supervisor Severson? So you said something about a searchable file. Did you mean, is your item about making it so that we can look for ordinances and resolutions online, or did it have more to do with reviewing ordinances and resolutions of the past to make sure that
Both.
oh, both? Okay, searchable file and making sure that ordinances and resolutions are, what did you say, modern? Something like that?
Correct, or up with current times.
Okay, current times. Okay,
'Cause I guess we can't talk.
okay, great. That's great. Anyone else in the room got any future agenda item to propose? All right, great. Thanks for those ideas. And also, if people have ideas in the meantime, between now and the next meeting, just make sure to let myself or Administrator Langreich know about those.
Sooner would be much better, Mr. Chair.
Yes, okay. We need lots of preparation time. All right, so That brings us to agenda item number 12, adjournments. So we would be adjourning to the first Thursday in September, which, if I'm correct, I think that's September 3rd at 1 p.m. I would say probably we need to make the location to be determined. Is that correct, Administrator Langer?
I haven't reserved out this space yet for that meeting, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we'll leave the location undetermined at this point. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn to that date and time.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Cosgrove,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Luck. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Email